she was little, and we would sit around at our house, and I would be writing songs, and I just kind of like humming, and I said like, I just found out my mommy's a mermaid, and she got so upset with me. She's like, mommy's not a mermaid.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, man, of course. Glad to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. My name's Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new record you have coming out.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it.
Cool. I had a chance to hear it. I love it, man. I love what you're doing. Because, yeah, it's like the children. I've got 2 kids, so the children's songs is rad, but then it's just like so much more in depth than what you typically hear as kid's songs.
I appreciate that, man. I try my best to do that. So if you're a parent or a grandparent or an aunt or uncle and you're in the car and you're listening to it, it doesn't hopefully don't drive you too crazy.
Right. Exactly. I was thinking that when I was listening to the record, I was like, wow, this is definitely something I'll play in the car and my kids will get a kick, or my younger son at least will get a kick out of it. And I won't be like, oh my gosh, like I cannot listen to this.
As a parent myself, I know any kind of like parenting hacks that you can have, whether it's putting something on that you enjoy. You know, if you're gonna have to put it on more than once, probably, so might as well enjoy it a little bit yourself.
For sure. I mean, there's even songs that you have on the records that you put out that are songs that don't necessarily. You could put them out as not a kid's song, for instance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's always been a goal of mine. I like a lot of different kinds of music, and I'm in my grown-up band, Need to Breathe. We've always been, which is so funny. Only when I talk about children's music do I have to say my grown-up band, but it is
my grown-up band.
But it's fun, we enjoy a lot of different styles, and I've kind of taken that from what we do, and I try to my goal is just to hopefully make music that I enjoy and that my kids enjoy, and then if other people enjoy too, then that's kind of icing on the cake. So
for sure. Yeah, like one of the last songs on the record, the new one, I Believe in You, like I heard that song, I was like, whoa, like this could be a song that it could be on any record and you wouldn't know that was like it wasn't geared like as a kid's release.
Thank you. And it's fun. It's nice to be proud of it, because I can't speak for all people that do music for kids or media for kids. I'm sure there's a part of it that they're proud of the process that they got it done, but for me it's fun because I actually do enjoy it. I would listen to it, and and making it wasn't that much different than making a grown-up record in some ways. I still did the same kind of process. I just tried to imagine what a 5-year-old or a 8-year-old would be thinking when they were listening to it, which is a fun place to create from.
For sure. It's interesting because I've interviewed a handful of artists that are in the children's music world, and hearing them talk, because a lot of them obviously don't set out to write kids songs. It just happens to kind of happen that way. And like one of the funny things I've heard is just like the set times are like the best thing ever. It's like we're playing a Saturday at noon instead of like Friday night at 11 p.m. or whatever.
Oh no, I mean that's definitely like a different. I mean, like our band just now finished a tour about 2 weeks ago, and we were going on it. We were playing like 3-hour shows starting at 8 or something, and doing it every day. And then we're about to actually go out. We're doing a tour with One Republic in the summer, and
it's so awesome.
It's fun. It's super fun, and it's great to go out there. But like my kids, for example, came to our show when we played here in my hometown. They made it about 3 songs, and they're like, "I'm ready to go home." It's just too late. It's too late for them. And I try to keep when I am able to do kid shows, I try to keep it to about 30 minutes, 45 at the most.
Oh, really? So you do short sets too?
Yeah, just like I feel like you try to cram as much of it in, to that time period, get their attention, and let them having a good time, and then send them off with their parents to hopefully keep singing and doing things with them. That's fun for me. I feel like once you get into hour, you're like, this is, I don't know what else
Pushing
to do with you guys. Candy.
it.
Here's a bunch of candy. Y'all enjoy yourselves.
Right. There you go. That's funny. Well, I'm curious. So you were born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. Is that what I read?
Yeah, born and raised in Knoxville, and still live here. I'm actually here at my studio right now. My kids are, funny enough, they are watching a movie in the other room with popsicles, and I told them, do not make a noise. Just go in there. And so I'm
If they
kind of,
come in, it's all good. I mean,
yeah,
it happens. I have,
it
like I
does
said, I
happen.
have two kids, so I mean, it just adds to the insanity of Zoom and everything
Oh,
else.
so, well, I've done enough of them where they've made enough appearances where I think they're probably tired of it at this point, which is good.
Okay.
But yeah, we live here in town in Knoxville, and we love it. It's home for us. So
That's so cool that you were born there and now you're raising your family there. You must obviously like it a lot. What was it like growing
yeah,
up there?
I mean, it's a great town, and it's growing a lot in the last decade or so.
Hmm.
But growing up kind of in the mountains, we had a lot of great music around. We're 20 minutes from like Dollywood, and so I
Sure.
remember going to Dollywood and hearing all the music. And there's just it's just a cool. It's like a big city, but it's a small town vibe, which I really
Hmm.
enjoy. I do a lot of work in Nashville, and I love Nashville. But every time I go there, I'm like, well, this is just overwhelming and a little too big. So it's nice to come home where, um, you may not know everybody. It's not like a small town where you know everybody, but it's definitely small enough where you recognize some people out there. Like, oh, hey, we're at the
Right.
farmer's. It's small enough, which is
Hmm.
nice. So I really love it a lot.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm from San Diego originally, and my family and we moved to Nashville a little over a year ago. I know there's
Yeah,
all of California is apparently moving to Middle Tennessee, which I've
it's
been finding
totally
out.
true. Well, it's fun. It's funny. Like a lot of our the band guys live in Nashville,
Mhm.
and not, and I'm here in Knoxville. We got a guy in Asheville, and it's so crazy because a lot of us have been in this area for a long time, and we're like,
Mhm.
man, just where are all these people coming from? I mean, we had some friends from California that have moved, and they really do love it. That's just a different speed, and
Mhm.
it's nice to see mountains and trees and all that stuff too, which is
It's
great.
beautiful. We absolutely love it here. Before we moved, it was like one of those things where I was like kind of having a panic attack because I
Yeah,
was only raised in California. My wife's only from California. We both grew up in San Diego. I spent a little bit of time in San Francisco when I was doing radio, and then we were like, okay, we're gonna move to Middle Tennessee, and I'm like kind of having like a panic attack. I'm like, no one's near us. Our families are there,
yeah,
and we're going to a place we don't know anything about. Like, is this the worst decision of our lives? But it turned out to be the best thing we've ever done.
yeah,
And we love it here. I mean, we're south of Nashville, we're in the burbs, but this is where
yeah,
I love it, man. I mean, it's got that small town vibe, like you said, but I can drive 35 minutes north and be in,
totally.
downtown Nashville.
Yeah.
So it's
No, it's
incredible.
great. I will say, if you're gonna live anywhere in California, San Diego is a pretty beautiful place to be.
It's a
So
nice spot. Yeah.
it's hard. I mean, it's different. It's apples and oranges, but I mean, like for me, I really do love Tennessee, and as much as I've travel and I'm gone a lot, it's
Mhm.
always it never gets old to come home. Not just, I mean, of course, my family being here is great. We got my parents and a lot of we all kind of still live here, which is great.
Mhm.
But just the area, yeah, I really do. I don't get tired of coming home to it. So
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot that you've traveled the world and then decided to like lay your roots still in Knoxville. I think that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, we love it.
That's cool. That's cool. So, first off, how did you get into music? You come from a musical household at all?
Yeah, so I kind of grew up. My parents were both pretty musical. My dad played trumpet, and then my mom played piano. And there was an appreciation for music. My grandparents also were very musical, and I don't know. I just kind of grew up, and pretty much from from a really young age, kind of caught the bug, and really never wanted to do anything else. I mean, from probably when I was 4 or 5 years old, I was putting on concerts for my family, and
Wow.
and I remember even around, I mean, probably around that same time when like cassettes were all the rage. Everybody was getting.
Hmm.
I remember, I'd get an allowance and I'd get to go to that a place in Knoxville called Tape World, and I'd go in and I'd have $10 to go pick out a tape or whatever. So I'd have these tapes, and then I'd get blank tapes and make mix tapes. Even
Oh,
as a really
sure.
young kid, I had a karaoke machine. I knew how to get all the spacing right, and I'd make covers, and like, so the whole thing
Wow.
was always like that. There's nothing else I ever wanted to really, to do, and tried, sports and stuff, and nothing really took. But I've always wanted to do music, and it feels like, in some ways, I feel like I've cheated the system because I get to do what I've always loved to do as my job.
Mhm.
So I don't, I always feel like I'm still kind of like I'm like living a hobby life in some ways. I work I work really hard at it, but it's like fun work because I just really have always done it, and I've always enjoyed it, and haven't been burned out yet by it, which is, it can be hard, but it's always rewarding. So
Sure. That's amazing. You said 4 or 5 years old, you were putting on concerts?
yeah, I literally remember, and the timestamp. The only reason I know that is just the houses that my family would live in. I remember being at my grandparents' house, when I was really young, and they lived there, and that was about that age. And I remember we'd put on concerts. I have pictures somewhere, and I need to find them, of me setting up like a scene to do an album cover. I was
Oh, wow. That's
like,
awesome.
all right, I was like, I feel like this is right. Okay, so, and I'm like, just cheesing, and I'm like, I'm gonna print this, and I'm gonna cut it out, put it in the tape, and like do the. I mean, I've just always loved it. I don't know why, and it's funny, like, um, you know, my kids are kind of they're not into it as much as me. I mean, they enjoy it, but like
Mhm.
I was so like obsessive about it. It was all I did, or all I thought about, and so but I do see it every now and then with my kid. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old,
Oh,
and every
cool.
now and then, like, this spark will happen, and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." Well, this whole thing, and so yeah, it's all I've ever known.
That's amazing. And then you have them on the records and stuff, right? On
I
the
do.
yeah.
Yeah, so they've been on all my kids' records, and actually my son was on the last Need to Breathe record. We had like a children's choir on there, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so he got to do that. And what was funny is, for my kids' records, it's pretty much just me, and I have my own like independent label, and I do all of it
Mhm.
myself. But our band, we're on this major label, and they had his name
Right.
in. They were like, we have to get him to sign a release. I was like, he's 7. Like, why don't what are we doing? So they did. They sent him a thing. He had to sign it, and it said like parent and guardian, like, your permission to be on the record. I was like, buddy, you just signed a record deal. You're
That's so crazy.
which is something I didn't do until I was, I don't know, 20 something. That he's been doing it for a while, I guess now.
That's so funny. That's amazing. Yeah, I have a 14-year-old and a 6-year-old. He just turned 6. So my 6-year-old's into music too. We got him a drum kit, like an electric kit during COVID because he just had so much energy. And I'm like, go smack this thing for it's a
Yeah.
handful of hours. And now he's got we finally have a drum teacher out here in Nashville, and it's been he's like really into it. He's starting to become interested in the piano. So now I want to like really embrace that and be like,
That's
here you
great.
go. Yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
like him to kind of steer away from it, because that's one of my biggest regrets is my sister and my dad can kill it on piano, and I just
Yeah.
never had an interest. I did, but I was like, oh, I don't feel like learning. It was like, I
Yeah.
wish it just came to me.
No. Well, it's funny, like, because I have, I actually, this is my studio. I don't know if you can see it. So I've got, like, this is just like a room in our
Oh,
house.
wow.
I have drum set and all that stuff set up. So I'll come here and work. It's away from our house, and they'll come with me, and it's like a hands-on kind of museum for them. I kind of let them. I mean, I have some things I'm like, don't touch that.
Sure,
But
sure.
most things I'm like, go play the drums, go bang on the pianos. And so, if nothing else, even if they don't want to do it, as a career or whatever, I think that, and in some ways I might discourage them from it in some way. It's just hard, it's hard. But I think
Yeah.
they'll definitely appreciate it, which is pretty cool.
That is so cool. And then having them on the albums and stuff, I'm sure helps a lot. Like getting to hear themselves and see the process of it all kind of happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah.
What was the first instrument you learned? Was it piano?
It was piano. So I started kind of banging on the piano when I was young. My grandparents had one at their house, and I played by ear. I took lessons for a second, and then I started, kind of doing my own thing, and playing by ear, and then I picked up guitar, and and it kind of turned into a thing where actually a musical mentor of mine told me one time, he said, if you want to make it in the music industry, you want a good shot at it, just try to learn as many instruments as you can and kind of be okay at a bunch of them. So I
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
did that when I was a kid. I kind of learned drums and bass and played saxophone for a little while. Just kind of like I wanted to be the guy that if they call and they're like, "Hey, I know you probably can't play banjo, but we have this thing that can you come do it?" I'm like, "Well, I can play a little bit," and then get the gig, and maybe
Hmm.
that would lead to another thing where I was a little bit better at another instrument or something. And it actually, I will say, it kind of worked in some ways. I feel like I'm able to. I'm not great at any instrument, but I'm good enough to where like I can like on my kids' records, I played most of the stuff on it, and I'm able to kind of just kind of do my own thing, and I enjoy it. Like I really do love. I love the recording process. I like tracking, drums and different things and doing all that stuff. So yeah, it's fun. But yeah, piano is the first one, and it's what I do in our band too. So
Hmm.
I finally, after all these years, I got the gig with on the instrument that I'm actually decent at.
Okay, that's so
Yeah,
awesome. With that, like, did you have bands in high school, or were you in like the orchestra or band or
yeah. I
jazz
was
band,
in
anything like that?
Yeah, I was in band in middle school. Actually played trumpet and French horn.
Okay.
And then I was in kind of, I started my own bands, around that age. And me and my friends, my first band, I think there were four of us, and we all played acoustic guitar, which is, I mean, hilarious. I'm sure it sounded absolutely terrible. Like one guy would take a capo and put it on like the 12th fret and play really high, and one guy would open to it. Was not good, I'm sure, but did that for a while. Then yeah, played in bands um and started touring actually right out of high school. I started playing in bands and hit the road, and
Wow.
yeah, I've been in Need to Breathe for about 11 years now, which is crazy.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's all kind of all I've ever known.
When you like right when you graduated high school, was the band that you toured with a band that was already established? Did you like try out for a band, or was it the band that you had formed in high school, the one that you were like really going for it with?
Yeah, there was the band I was in high school. We did about 4 or 5 years of touring, and we'd play kind of all over. I mean, it was like we would play kind of anything. So it's like if you want us to play your birthday party or your school function or your church whatever it was, we would
Yeah.
we would do that. And then after that, through that, I kind of got a job with another band that was established, and they were a rock band from Virginia, and I did that for about 6 years, and that kind of led me to Need to Breathe. So yeah, it's been fun. I mean, I can kind of like look back on my life and kind of figure out where I was in life by the bands I was in, which is kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
When you said you signed your first record deal when you were in your 20s, was that with that second band that was already established? Like when, like, what was
Yeah.
that like,
So
getting your first record deal?
yeah, so the band that I was in before that, they had already signed a record deal and I played for them, but we were under a label. And so we had all we knew what to do with the label. And we had, it kind of was my introduction to what it is, to sign a deal and to work that deal and go travel the world playing your music. So that was fun. And then, now with Need to Breathe, we've, I guess we're on our like, I don't know, eighth or ninth record,
Yeah.
So it's been insane to think about how many records and relationships and all that stuff that's happened over the years. How it's kind of led us to here. It's wild.
Sure. Wow. And you joined Need to Breathe, you said, what, 2011-ish?
2011, yeah, early
Okay.
20.
Was
Yeah.
that something that you knew the guys and they needed a keyboard player and you kind of jumped in there, or like how did that relationship form?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. So I actually had known them for a little while. In passing, we had the band I was in before, played some shows with them, and then I knew their old keyboard player, and they were actually about to head on tour in 2011. I played on their record before that, played a couple songs, and then they were about to head out on tour. We were doing 90 shows opening for Taylor Swift, which was
Oh
insane.
my
So
gosh.
that was my first tour with the band was
Oh,
that. So
wow.
we were with her all year of 2011. So yeah, and then I got married that year too. So it was a pretty insane an insane year, and welcome to this band.
Oh my gosh. Wow. To open up for Taylor Swift, that's insane.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was I think it was the Speak Now tour. So that would have been like
Oh,
she was on her way up. I mean, she was still massive. We played stadiums. I mean,
I
like
was
it was
gonna
big,
I was gonna
but it
say
wasn't like,
I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. When she played
okay,
San
cool.
Diego on that tour, you played the sports arena, which is
Yeah.
where their minor league hockey team plays and the
Yep.
Sockers play and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. We were there. Yeah. I mean, it was a really fun tour, and she's such a professional and great business person, and was really welcoming to us. And, but it was my first, like, it was such a crazy like thing. Cause I mean, the bands I was in before we were scraping by in some ways. We were in a van and we were doing the thing. And then, and in a lot of ways, Need to Breathe was still kind of on their way up, still
Mhm.
kind of working. I mean, we still work really hard, but at the time we were still trying to figure it out. And to go out there and play for 50,000 people and play 2 nights at Madison Square Garden and 4 nights at the Staples Center, we were just like,
Yeah.
what is happening right now? So it was fun. I mean, it was super super fun, and yeah, it was one of the wildest touring experiences I've ever had.
Yeah. Talk about getting like kind of thrown into it. Like, okay, now we're gonna be opening up for Taylor Swift.
It was insane. It was absolutely,
Wow.
yeah.
So when did you start doing the Young Folk project? You put a record out in 2017, but where have you always kind of, I guess like where did the idea to play, children's music come from?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, I definitely, listened to children's music. There was a great movement out of Canada in the
Oh
80s,
yeah.
with a lot of great children's artists, and you know Sharon Wilson Bram and
Hmm.
Raffi, all kinds of artists. And I really was inspired by that. And I just remember how rich my life was because of music that was created for me and for my family. And so when I started having kids, I started like writing songs. And then initially the idea was, I'm going to write some songs, I'm going to record them at my house, so that my son, who was just born at the time, could hear my voice while I was on tour.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, and it ended up, and that was really the earliest young folk records were. That it was just me and a guitar, me and a piano, just singing songs. Some of them were original, some of them were covers. And I just wanted to make sure that if I'm going to be gone for 8 weeks or something, that
Hmm.
every night before he goes to bed, he's going to hear my voice. So
That's so
uh,
cool.
yeah, so that's how it started. And then it kind of became this thing where it was like a passion project where I wanted to do something um, for other families too. My kids, or I guess my son at the time, really was, he liked the music. He was like, he wanted to play it all the time. And it's like, hey, maybe we should just, you know, finish these songs out and put them out and see if anybody else would enjoy them too. And so my first record in 2017, I finished that, had some friends on it, had Ben
Hmm.
Rector on it,
Yeah.
and
And
actually
Sharon and Bram, right?
Sharon and
On
Brett
that.
were on
Yeah.
it. This band called Spirit Family Reunion from Brooklyn were on it, and Ellie Holcomb. So it was just like it was such a fun project because a lot of them either had kids or sang music for kids or were familiar with folk music. And
Hmm.
it was just a really inspiring project to kind of put into the world. And it kind of created this, I don't know what it is, it's just this thing where I feel like the responsibility to keep doing it. And I really love it. I love when we get to play concerts for kids. It's just totally different than playing for grown-ups. And
Sure.
it's just, they're just so fun. And I really do love it. And yeah, put out another record in 2019,
Uh-huh.
called Growing Up. And that same thing. It was funny, like I put that out, and then the next summer was going to be like, I'm going to go and play a bunch of festivals, like they do, like kids festivals,
Hmm.
or like grown-up festivals have kids stages, like
Yeah, yeah,
Lollapalooza,
yeah.
Austin
Uh-huh.
City Limits. And of course COVID, shut all that down, which was a bummer. But and kind of honestly took a little bit of my the wind out of my sails out for it a little bit. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm even doing. And yeah, just started writing more songs, and that's what this new record is. It's just a lot of songs that kind of were birthed out of the last couple of years with my family, and I kind of in my head I thought I'm just gonna write songs that make my kids smile and laugh and not worry about the rest of it. And it ended up being it's really one of my favorite projects out of out of the three. It's I think it's a really fun record that I can't wait for families to get to hear.
Yeah, it's an awesome album, I will say. I'm curious, like you said, that you grew up with Sharon Lois and Bram, and then you had them on it. How did that? Did you reach out to them, like, or did you know
Yeah.
them prior? Like, how did that happen?
So funny enough, to for a little bit of a callback, we when we played on the Taylor Swift tour, we played in Toronto, which is where they're from.
Uh huh.
Uh, and I just thought I'm just gonna reach out and to their. I mean, I didn't know. I hadn't really seen them. I've seen them in concert when I was a kid and stuff, but
Hmm.
uh, I reached out to their manager and I was like, "Hey, just want to let you know, like, your all's music and Sharon Lois Brand music inspired me a lot, and we're playing in Toronto. I don't know if their grandkids or anybody is a big Taylor Swift fan, but I'd love to give you all tickets to come to the show and hang out and do that." And so ended up getting together with Sharon and got coffee and sat and talked about their career and traveling and kids music and just everything. It was just so inspiring, and we ended up kind of becoming almost like pen pals through email. We email almost every week, just like, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" If we played like Jimmy Fallon or something, I'd always send a message like, "Hey, we're gonna be on TV tonight." She just kind of turned into like a grandmother figure in some
That's
ways
so
for me.
awesome.
And my grandmother passed away when I was really young, when I was 10, and she was really instrumental in music and just I think who I am as a person. I think she really had a lot to do with that, and so she kind of in some ways kind of filled that role in some ways, and
Hmm.
became friends with all of them. We would get together every time we go to Toronto, and my kids have gone there, and now they're kind of like grandparents to them. And Lois
Yeah.
passed a couple of years ago,
Uh huh.
but was able to be close with her too. It's just it's such a unique friendship in some ways, because there's a lot of people definitely my age or around my age that when I mention that, yeah, I'm friends with Sharon, Lois, and Bram, they lose their minds. It's like as if I said, it's like I said, yeah, I went over and hung out with Elvis last night.
Right.
Like to them, they're like, wait, you hung out with at like the Elephant Show, like the Skinamarink, like
Yeah.
that. It like blows their mind. And but they're
That
just they're real people, and they're so sweet, and it's one of the most unique and rewarding friendships that I have, in my life, which is so fun.
That's so cool. Yeah, I was a fan of them growing up as a kid as well. And then I had a chance to interview Sharon and her daughter Randy. They
Yeah,
like re-put out a record or
yeah,
like with a book and everything. I
yeah,
think it came with like a book and stuff. Yeah, it
yeah,
was really cool. And another just a quick sidebar thing. It was crazy. So we moved here to Nashville area, and my neighbors across the street from us, they're from Illinois, and the wife, her cousin is Lois. Like it was just like the
really.
weirdest thing. This whole like thing tied in.
Whoa.
I was like, what? She's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
like my cousin was in a band, and like she kind of just did it. Like I would have no idea who they were. I'm like, wait, what?
yeah, that's
So
so well, I
it
knew
was
she
just
was
so
from
random.
Chicago. I knew she was from Chicago originally, so that's so funny. Yeah, it's such a sweet thing, man. And like for me, like doing children's music now, like I mean, what I do with our band is one thing, and it'll always be kind of a part of my story and like who I
Mhm.
am. But like what I get to do with children, if I could just have an ounce of the impact that they've had on people like us, and just and they're people that they're still impacting people, which is pretty amazing and special.
It's so
So
cool. It's so cool. So you well, you have the new record coming out. I know you're doing you just announced what like half an hour ago or so that you're
yeah.
playing a show in Washington D.C. That is is it like do you just kind of juggle the young folk stuff around what you're doing with Need to Breathe?
Yeah, so I mean, so our after we still tour quite a bit, but
Yeah.
we're able to kind of navigate it a little bit more, because we only do about 50 to 60 shows a year right now, which is great. So I'll whenever we have a break or something, I'll be able to book some shows and kind of do records around that, which has been really, really good and able to do more than, just the Need to Breathe thing or just the young folk thing. So I'll do some shows. I actually have a couple shows around that time, and then I'll probably do some more in the fall once we get off the road again. So
That's awesome. And then you said you kind of started this project when COVID happened. You weren't able to. Sorry. Go. No, you can talk to your kid. It's not a big deal.
Hey, okay, come here for a second, real quick. Okay, now she ran away. As soon as I said, "Hey, come here," no,
it's okay. Yeah, I don't want you to feel like.
No, it's all good.
I was just curious. Like, so you said you're supposed to do some shows, like bigger venue, or not bigger shows, but like the festival circuit with that last record you put out, and then COVID hit, and like what was going on with Need to Breathe, and then how did that kind of lead into you being like, I'm just going to write another young folk record?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
No.
Ask Henry to help you. I'm doing something real quick. Okay. Go over there and have him help you. Yes. Go. Yes.
It's all anyway. Good. I only got a few more questions for you. I know you got to get back to your kids.
Sorry. No. Yeah. So we actually, what's funny, we, when COVID first came on the scene, I guess in early 2020, we were finishing up a record. We were in the studio and we were getting, our phones were pinging and hey, this thing is COVID's happening. So we actually went home after that. And we were like, well, I don't know when we're going to see each other again, or what the plan is going to be. And we were home for a while. We put the record out, but we weren't able to tour it. And so then we just decided that if we can't tour, we're just going to go make another record. So we ended up quarantining the band for 3 weeks and made another record. And then we ended up getting to tour that in the fall. But that was kind of a thing where I had a lot of time at home to kind of figure out what the next step was. And I really did. It really was a moment of trying to reflecting on why I even make kids music. I think at the beginning, like I said, it was for my kids, and I wanted to continue to do that. But then the thing that kind of kept me coming back to the well, I guess, is our kids have gone through such a hard couple of years. I mean, we all have. Mm-hmm. But I was like, man, if I could just add to the enjoyment, or spread a little good things, into the world, that to me, it is, I don't know, it's just something that I felt like I wanted to do. I wanted to put out a record that, it was a little bit silly and is fun, and, because I know that I needed to laugh more than, in this season than I probably ever had. I'm like, man, maybe I can do that for other families, and just try to kind of loosen the pressure a little bit for them. And it's just such a weird time in the world. It's hard. It's hard to be a kid. It's hard to be a grown up. It's hard for everybody. And so if I can't change the world, but I can hopefully do play a small part in just making some silly kid songs that make everybody, bring the family together and to laugh, and something they can listen to together. So
I love it. Yeah, I know it's hard to think about, with the kids and the or the video school and all that stuff, and then trying to send your kid with a mask on his face to school, and they're just like, what? It's just, I feel so bad for these kids, and especially the ones that were graduating high school, and all these milestones that they missed just because they had to, do it over the computer, graduate high school over the computer, college over the computer. It's just I feel so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it is tough, and it's funny enough. I remember I was actually talking to Sharon about this. She said, it's so crazy when you think about these kids have, really lost a couple of years of their life in some ways. And she said, but, I also look at myself. She's like, I'm in my 80s, and I only have so much time left, and I essentially lost a couple of years, and she's just sitting at home, and it's tough. I mean, it's tough for all of us. And we can't predict the things that are going to happen, can't control anything, and we do the best we can. And so I do feel like I look at my kids, and I'm proud of them. They've done as good as they could have done in a situation like this. I didn't go through COVID when I was a kid, so I don't know how they are doing it, but I do know that they are doing their best, and we all are. So
I mean, yeah, because I was listening to the record and obviously with like Wash Your Hands, I'm like, okay, this definitely had to be coming out of the 2020 quarantine days of writing it.
Yeah.
But the lyrics that you write are they're so they're really like I don't even know how to explain it. Like you're very witty with them. Like it's really like intelligently written, where it's not just like super cheesy like kid songs. It's like you
Yeah.
like the one of the lines is something about like you don't need a PhD, just some SOAP. Like just like these quirky little things that I'm like,
Yeah.
that's so brilliant, especially
Yeah.
for a
Oh,
kid's song.
yeah.
Instead of it just being like very directed towards a child in like the simplest form, it's like there's depth
Yeah.
to the lyrics, I guess is where I'm
Oh,
going with it.
well, thank you. And I try. I definitely want to. I guess my goal was let's make a chorus that everybody can sing, but then let's put some stuff in the verses that the parents are like, huh, I get what they're saying there.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. Or like the cool dad in a minivan. I'm like, this is great. Like this is such a like the chorus is like yeah, like a sing along. But then you
Yeah.
listen to it, you're like, oh, this is funny because this is just about some dad that has to cruise around in a minivan that he
Doing
wants
the best he can.
instead of a sports car.
Exactly. Yeah,
uh,
man. Just we're all
but
doing the best we can. So
yeah, I
that's
love it. And I love the conversation with, I'm sure it's with your daughter in the beginning of this Margot Mermaid. I think it's the song.
yeah.
It's like you
That's
just
actually
talking with her.
that's actually who's in the room with me right now. Margot, actually, when she was little, and we would sit around at our house, and I would be writing songs, and I just kind of like humming, and I said like, I just found out my mommy's a mermaid, and she got so upset with me. She's like, "Mommy's not a mermaid. She's not." And I was like, "Record, record." And so I grabbed it. Literally, so she was really young. I mean, this is probably, 3 years ago when I actually recorded
Oh,
that.
wow.
She's 5 now, and but still, it's like even today in the car, both of the kids were like, "Let's listen to that part of the song or the record one more time." They still think it's funny when she says, "Mommy's not a mermaid, she's got a booty," or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta put that in there. Hopefully, everybody's okay with that.
That's cool. That's so cool that that's from that time. It wasn't like
Yeah,
something you had to you tried to recreate. It was just like you
no,
had that moment on your
it was
phone.
definitely a song, like a songwriting demo, and I was just like, it's too perfect, exactly how it is. I'm just gonna put it in there, and I'm glad it made it because it is super funny. It's a
It's
funny thing.
awesome. It's really
Yeah,
awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much, man, for doing this. I really appreciate your time.
yeah, man. Thank you for having.
Um, yeah, and I love I just noticed that you have a Blockbuster hat on. That's awesome.
Oh, I do. Yeah, it's funny. So when we were on tour, I actually have a massive VHS tape collection. I enjoy. I don't know why. It's really during COVID. I was just like, I got to find something to collect that nobody else wants. And luckily, VHS is something I can find. I could have found. I found a lot of. So
Uh,
when we were on tour last fall, me and a couple of the other guys, we played. I can't remember the town off the top of my head, but we're the last block. It's Eugene, Oregon.
oh yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it's in
Yeah.
Oregon.
So we
Okay,
went there. We went there and like walked around, and I bought all the swag, all the merch, and everything.
that's
So I
so
got
cool.
that. And then yesterday we were going to, so we were going through a drive-through or something, and somebody was like, where's the closest Blockbuster from here? I don't think they have anymore. I was like, they don't have anymore. He's like, oh, you got that antique hat on. I was like, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought you had to. Like you found it at like a thrift shop or something.
This is actually new from the last Blockbuster on Earth. So
That's so cool.
we got a membership card and everything.
I got a membership card. That's rad. Do they
Um,
still rent out tapes, or is it just
they
like
do.
looking? No
They
way.
rent DVDs out. Yeah, it is pretty. It's a fun play. I mean, like I used to go there when I was a kid. I mean, all of
Yeah.
us. You walk in, it's just like it smells the same carpet. And it's like, I ended up staying in there for a couple of hours because I was like, I missed this. So yeah, it was
That's funny.
awesome.
Yeah, they
You
used
ever
to have
get
the
to your-
TVs up on the thing
Yep.
telling you if there was if which ones were like checked out completely.
Oh, well, and they actually, what's funny is it's still the same. Like you walk up to the front desk and they have it's DVDs now, but like they had all the DVDs lined up, like where you can read the spine, the ones that just came in. You're like, oh, sweet, ET, I grabbed that, and like I remember totally waiting around for that one thing to come back in. So
Yeah, or
it's still
do you still pull it from behind the thing?
you
Like you have
do
the DVD and you're like, okay, I'm gonna pull it.
the
There's
whole
two
thing.
left.
Yep. I remember too, back in the day before that, it was the hooks that had the little like
Oh
these little things that
yeah.
you pull them off and like
I
ding,
forgot about
over to
that.
the front desk. Yeah. So
The
I love movies, and I'm actually super nostalgic. So my kids are they love watching. They're actually watching a VHS tape right now, which is so funny.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Josh, for doing this. My last
Yeah,
quick question for you is if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
yeah. I think, honestly, do it because you love it, and it'll never feel like work. I think that that's the thing for me. Like, I really do enjoy what I get to do, and like get to enjoy doing things with my kids is really fun. So for me, I think for if you're a songwriter or you're a producer or you want to be in music business, do it because you just really love it. And if you don't love it, it's probably not for you because it's a hard job. And but I do think that there's a lot of rewards to it when you stick with it, and then you can kind of look back and say, man, I really, not only did I work hard, but I enjoyed it. And I think that's the goal. At least for me, it's been that way.
Bringing it backward.